Did you show Alan that?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to come back to order here today at 3:30. We apologize about the scheduling conflict, but Game, Fish, and Wildlife had the room right after us, and we wanted to be sensitive and understanding of their needs and scheduling. So we're going to come back to order here. First bill we're going to take back up is going to be Senate Bill 183. And Chairman Powell, you have a comment you'd like to make?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do. I had asked that we suspend action after the good senator had presented his bill. And I think all the questions have been asked, but I'd asked to suspend action because I thought there had been a little amendment we could have put in. And then after closer inspection, when we recessed, the language is in here that would help the expedite this so that the money was not at the mercy of anybody other than the people that are enforcing this, and that would be the local law enforcement agencies.
So you're saying the chairman was right on that?
I am, and he is right, and I appreciate it.
I appreciate that.
And at
Thank
the
you very
proper time,
much.
I'd like to make a motion.
We'd entertain a motion at this time.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I move that the House pass substitute SB 183 LC 39 3443S, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
No.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Senator. Appreciate that. All right. We're going to go for Senate Bill 404 at this time. Chairman Powell has been gracious and kind enough to present that for Chairman Albers. I would like to report to members of the committee that did pass out a subcommittee, Gerald Green subcommittee, earlier this week.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you had said, I'm handling this for Senator Albers. Probably one of the more simpler bills. Under the current law, individuals that want to be licensed as an emergency service personnel, they have to submit to a fingerprint criminal background check. But once they do that, the fingerprints aren't kept, and the licensure agencies never know if there's ever a change in the status of that person's criminal records. What this bill does is authorizes the GBI to retain those fingerprints of these emergency technicians, and that at any particular time when they need to do an upgrade to check, then they can do it and then forward that to the EMS licensing agency, and that's what it does.
Okay. Any questions at this time for that bill, Senate Bill 404? What would be the desire of the committee?
Motion be passed.
Okay, motion made and seconded to pass Senate Bill 404 LC 339103S. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right, the next bill we are going to hear, we have it here. We're going to pass it out to us, for us. It's going to be Senate Bill 319. I'll give Abby just a few moments before we get to that. And I'm wearing my substitute. It's a substitute, yes. Substitute to Senate Bill 319. Abby's going to be handling that out. Before we start, I want to take just a moment of personal privilege, if I may, and just thank my friends at Georgia 2A for always being the common sense gun group, local advocates here in Georgia. They've always gone above and beyond to be responsive and receptive to questions and needs of the committee, and to give us the pulse of the people here in Georgia. You know, some gun groups that want to lobby just don't seem to want to come to the table and be partners, and that's unfortunate. You know, being a young man that grew up in the 80s, one of my favorite movies was Karate Kid. Y'all ever seen Karate Kid? Representative Crow, you've seen Karate Kid? Yeah. Do you remember that dojo? It was Cobra Kai. Do you remember that? You know their motto was strike first, strike hard, no mercy. there's a gun group that has a motto of strike first, strike hard, no mercy. And you know, I always thought of the Cobra Kai group as a kind of bullies, you know. And here in our committee,
Pretty fair.
and here in our committee, I like to think about balance, and reasonable. People are reasonable. Most people I know are reasonable, whether they're a Democrat or Republican. They're reasonable. But some people are just unreasonable. And I just want to thank our friends at Georgia 2A for being reasonable.
Good, reasonable group.
I appreciate that.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. At this time, we're going to hear from Senator Anna Vitarte about Senate Bill 319.
Thank you, Chairman Miyagi.
It's my honor.
It's always an honor to be in front of an illustrious chairman from West Georgia, the best committee in the Georgia House. Don't tell your friends I said that. But it's an honor to bring this historic bill to this committee. I know my colleague that I'm going to be missing from the 53rd brought very historic legislation earlier working with Representative Powell. That was an awesome bill. This is also an awesome bill that the citizens of Georgia want. And I'm not going to sit up here and give you a speech on this because I think y'all have already debated this bill. But this is constitutional carry, and the bottom line with this bill is we're trying to basically allow law-abiding Georgians to carry without a permit. And basically, in 319, we go through and we strike the word license from the entire bill, and also this bill allows for reciprocity if somebody wants to carry to another state that recognizes reciprocity. So I'm going to keep my remarks very simple, Mr. Chairman, and turn it back over to you and the committee. And thank you. It's an honor to always be here in the House.
Okay. Chairman Powell, you have some comments you want to make?
First, I want to check, are we working from LC 393449S?
Yes. Substitute.
Is that correct?
That's right.
Thank you,
Substitute.
Senator.
Yes, Representative Powell.
At the proper time, I'd like to make a motion. I'm not going to get into editorializing. I understand that me and my friend Senator Mullis, that we were editorialized by one of those gun groups.
I'll tell you.
And with some discourteous comments. But I'll echo your comments that the language that was in that bill that we did, while this is important to a lot of people, that was also important because that's the nuts and the bolts of the 2A laws in Georgia.
Absolutely.
That we just cleaned up. And if it had not been for years of working with formerly known as Georgia Carry, but GA2A, they have been nuts in the ground working on us with us, and I do appreciate them.
Okay.
And with that, I'll be more than glad to stand for a motion.
Yes, one more question here from number 15 down there. Representative Evans.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman.
Yes.
And thank you, Senator. So can you tell me the difference between your bill and Representative Ballinger's bill, please?
I'll let your colleagues kind of talk about it, but I think there's some just very basic changes related to my bill and I think Representative Ballinger's bill that are just some very minor tweaks related to the two bills. But at the end of the day, this bill is allowing for permitless carry and basically allowing law-abiding Georgians to carry out their Second Amendment right.
May I ask a further
Go
question?
ahead, please.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So my understanding is that, and I don't know this, I'm asking, so is there an age difference in who can be a carrier in your bill and her bill?
Yeah, I think there's some minor tweaks, but I don't think there are really major substantial differences between the two bills.
Okay. All right. Chairman Powell, we will now recognize you for a motion.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that this committee accept the substitute to Senate Bill 319, LC 393449S, and I so move with my thanks to Governor Kemp for endorsing this proposition finally, that we can move on.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion? Second. Okay. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, like sign? No. Okay. The ayes clearly have it. Is there any other business before this committee before we adjourn?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman Powell, weren't you a part of that bold group of legislators that got us to be able to carry with a permit years ago? Weren't you a part of that?
Chairman Jaspers and I were in, Chairman Meadows at the time and Chairman Ballinger, Chairman Hitchens over there. He was a part of it at that day. And, you know, and I still go back to what I'd said, you know, there's been so much misinformation put out over the years about permitless carry or constitutional carry and what was the holdup. But I reminded, as I'd given the talk in the well on this, one of the things that the public doesn't understand is that the legislature, we're victims to whoever the sitting governor may be. Because that sitting governor always knows that they have an ace in the hole, and it's called the governor's veto. And that being said, that shadows everything. And if it's an issue that has any inkling of controversy or something that a governor may be opposed to, that just by virtue that he does not give his approval or sanction, then that puts a stifle on it. And quite frankly, it's not that the legislature is weak, but it's a making that needs to be changed at some part. Our state constitution says that the legislature has the power to override a governor's veto. But because in practicality, whenever we convene per the Constitution, we convene on the second Monday, and we are held to go to 40 days. Well, that 40 days comes to an end, and when it comes to an end, the governor has 60 days to sign or veto a bill. Well, the Constitution also says that the only way that we can reconvene to say overturn a veto, and that would be by ourselves with 2/3 votes, or the governor calling us back in. Well, practically and realistically speaking, no governor is going to call a legislature back in to overturn their veto. Now, that since you've got me on the soapbox, I'm going to give a little piece of advice to folks. My neighbors over in South Carolina that I'm quite close to, they have a system that they use, and they go through whatever their number of days, but they always save the last 5 days of their legislative session. And then they save that, and then they reconvene after the period of a veto. And they call it a veto override session, or to finish up business. And then they go back into the session, and that's when they look at overriding a veto. Now, short of a constitutional amendment to change the time that we meet, then possibly the way that could be handled would be if both houses would come together and they would set the calendars based on 35 or 36 days, and then come back at the end so as to override the veto. And that's just a little bit of institutional knowledge that I would like to share with this committee. And for some of y'all who will probably be around for many years to come, the longer you're here, the longer you're going to find out that that's how this system works. And if you want to ever truly acquire the strength of the third branch of government, that's what needs to be done. And thank you for letting me.
Yes, sir. Chairman
Say that.
Jaspers, you have something you want to add to
I
that,
do.
sir?
I just want to add, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for just a moment. And, as Chairman Powell and so many of us over the years have worked on all these Second Amendment things, the big key thing here is we had a willing governor. And I really brag on Governor Kemp for standing for people's Second Amendment rights, the safety of all Georgians, men, women, kids in college. This is going to increase their safety, as it well should, and I just want to just put an attaboy on for Governor Kemp for being such a great supporter of this measure.
Absolutely. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that's going to be it. And again, I want to thank those who came before me who helped expand gun rights in Georgia. I think it's vitally important. Without those bold leadership initiatives in the past, we wouldn't be where we are here today. With no further comments, this meeting stands adjourned.